straight into it. But before I do so, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, Alonzo. Before I start, I have a confession to make. For those of you who probably can't tell, I'm a black man. I know, it's surprising, but I am in fact black. Now, why am I telling you that I'm a black man? Well, today's video is going over a lot of touchy subjects within the black community, and I just wanted to let people know that I myself am black, so I can speak on what I'm about to talk about. Stay tuned. What qualifications, you may ask? Well, I'm a black American living in America, so everything I'm talking about, I've kind of come in contact with for the most part. I grew up in a small city, Albany, Georgia, where the median income is around $40,000 per year. And over the past few years, since I've been away from home, I've noticed a sudden surge in certain topics. These topics being racism, being stereotyped in America, just a lot of negativity surrounding my demographic as a whole. Now, granted, the sudden surge isn't out of nowhere. It's due to this magnifying glass. This magnifying glass being social media, and it's giving us all the opportunity to hone in on certain topics, and we all get to form an opinion about what's going on. Which brings me to my first talking point. That talking point being stereotyping. Now, the simple definition of stereotype is a fixed image or idea that a person has about a place or a thing. And social media has a major impact on that. But there are a lot of controversial takes that are made, which gain a lot of attention, and it leads to a lot of people honing in and forming their own opinions about black people. Now, notice I said a fixed image or idea, meaning that it's already in their mind from the get go, but it didn't get there on purpose. More times than not, most opinions or ideas are formed over a long period of time because they typically come from experience, which, in defense, is human nature to stereotype. It's kind of how we survive. If you're walking through the forest and you hear loud screaming and yelling, you're not going to continue towards the noise, are you? We're all given this beautiful gift that's called common sense. Some people lack it more than others, and some people tend to think they have it more than others, which kind of leads to this imbalance in a sense. Which brings me to my next talking point. Not everyone can be stereotyped. More times than not, I find myself swimming through the comment sections of several videos and tweets alike where most of my like-minded brothers and sisters are disowning the behavior of the other part of our culture, because culture is this broad umbrella, but no one talks about the subculture. Black culture is one thing, then you have rap culture, then you have drug culture, gang culture, and so on and so forth, which every ethnicity has. Now, it's very important that these subcultures be separated, because if it's not separated, this could then lead to prejudice, which is a preconceived opinion about a group where you haven't experienced what that group has experienced. Now, don't get stereotype and prejudice confused. A majority of the time, most people use the term racism and they group everything into this big potluck of words, not knowing the difference. The difference is stereotypes is overgeneralization over a certain group, which can be negative or positive. An example being all Asians are good at math. That's a positive stereotype, but it's an overgeneralization over a certain group. Myself, I would love to be overgeneralized when it comes to math. I'm decent, but I'm not the best, if you get what I'm saying. And prejudice is strictly negative feelings, not having a reason at all, over misinformation about a certain group. An example being Trump supporters are racist because they use the term "Make America Great Again." When you hear that phrase, some people mind instantly reverts way back to slavery and all this other things when it comes to making America great again. But you don't know if they're saying they're trying to re-improve the economy, but recency bias will have you believe that they're racist due to the media propagating misinformation, reinforced information, prejudice. Now that we have those two examples, let's move on to my next talking point. Before so, just a disclaimer: by no means am I overly political. I consider myself conservative in the sense of I'm on the side of common sense when it comes to certain things. Now let's talk about discrimination, which is the unjust and unfair treatment of a person, sex, or ethnic group based on a numerous amount of reasons, which stems from, you guessed it, the word prejudice. An example could be, let's say, black people are loud and rowdy. Now, more times than not, you can find numerous examples of people of color getting into disagreements all across social media. So, more times than not, some people are gonna have this preconceived notion that, okay, if I see a group of them coming towards me, more times than not, it means trouble. Or if I see a group gathering, it's about to be a big fight or some form of pep rally that I don't want to be a part of. And social media reinforces this misinformation based off the view counts, the amounts of shares, and so on and so forth. And more times than not, you may not ever see these large groups unless you're like in big areas where there are always like large gatherings. Now, I have been a part of groups of people that look just like me who said, I don't even want to go over there because I know something is about to happen or pop off, as we like to say. Now, is that discrimination or prejudice? Yes, it is. As I said earlier, as humans, it's in our nature to stereotype and profile what's about to happen in order to protect ourselves for the most part. It's, as I said earlier, common sense. So, why is it bad when other groups do it to us? I would love to hear your thoughts down in the comment section. And statistics doesn't do us any favors either. Being a part of the highest crime rates per ethnic groups, it's kind of hard to turn the other cheek when danger is literally staring you in your eyes. Now, everyone is not dangerous. I would be a madman to say that every black person is dangerous. That's not true. Now, you have certain areas that are more dangerous than others, but for the most part, most of the black people I've met are kind of down to earth, mellow people. What if I told you that the reason you're profiled when you walk into these places of business or you're in a group where you stand out like a sore thumb is maybe because of the way you carry yourself? That doesn't take away from the fact that your brothers and sisters are online propagating negativity, which causes people to have a negative outlook of your demographic as a whole. It's not about racism. No, it's far from that. It's about what's being propagated over social media. And it's up to us as a race to reduce this by holding each other accountable. Now, is this sustainable or possible at all? I'll allow you to come up with your answers down in the comments. Now, there are a lot of people who have the same complexion I have in different spaces who have the same viewpoints about our race as a whole, which is positive if you are actually listening to what's being said. But you have a certain subset, a subculture, who would call us a Uncle Tom. But I guarantee you that same group hasn't read the novel Uncle Tom's Cabin or know who the character is based off of a former slave known as Josiah Henson. And if not, I encourage you all to go and watch the documentary, which is free on YouTube. Now, some of you may be wondering, when am I going to talk about racism? Well, what if I told you I just talked about racism? I talked about prejudice, I talked about stereotypes, and I talked about discrimination. That's the definition of racism, believe it or not. All these terms that have different meanings all make up this one giant conglomerate of a word in racism. This is why the word is so misconstrued today. And this is why some people says racism doesn't exist. Before I end the video, I have a PSA for all my black brothers and sisters alike in the world who claim that black people can't be racist. That's the equivalent of having a lemon that's sour, and now you have a lime, and because you say this lime is a different color and it's smaller and it has all these different things, that it too can't be sour. Well, I have news for you. A lemon is sour and a lime is also sour. Do with that information what you will. But that's all for now, guys. Peace. Thanks for stopping by.